we are, didn't look staged at all, did it?
No, not at all.
We are in sort of the middle of the filler stage, as most people call it. We like to call it the cold lead stage, because it sounds far more professional. This is the bit people don't really like to see or want to think that's in their classic cars, but this is the sort of stage that you have to do to get them all straight. We basically skim the whole car and then block it all down until we start getting to sort of levels where we're happy with and the shape looks nice. And I'm just about to work my way round. I can show you here onto the bonnet. It's the next big area. And you look at the bonnet and think it's fine, and I imagine in the camera that looks perfectly fine, ready to paint. But if you rub your hand around it, and where it's been made, where you've seen it sort of in Bear Alley, where it was made in sections, if you rub your hand over it, you can't actually see, but you can feel it between your fingers in your palm. If I exaggerate how that feels, basically it's sort of going like this as you go up over it. So we'll just skim that along, as you can see here where I've already started to come in. See, it's flattened down, you see the high spots, or that's sort of the level we want to get to, start to come through, and that's what you're getting rid of. If you end up painting on top of that, it's gonna look like a load of wank. So that's what you can do. A lot of it you will be able to get out with polyester, but then you're asking a lot of the polyester, you know, you have to build it up so much, and when you're spraying it with polyester, it will build up all around the edges, around the window shuts, around the louvers. You're going to end up with it cracking. So this is the best way. As long as you've prepped it properly, you've keyed it up, you've cleaned it, and you apply the filler correctly, there is no issue with using it. The problem with filler is when you try and make a whole seal out of it and some chicken wire and some paper and some expanding foam. That's when you're going to have an issue. So I'm just going to cold lead this area around the front and continue flattening it down.
Can't use hot lead on alley though, can you?
No, we've done the hot lead bit on the joint and you can't use it on alley. So we're using this cold lead, which you mix out of a pot and smear it on with a number plate. So I'm going to do that now. Is he filming, is he?
A bespoke filler spreader.
So you can put it in an inch thick and it still looks like
Still looks like the right shape. I'll give that a little sand, some paper, also known as sandpaper, and then I should be able to just boss that down through there like that, and that'll give us a nice, just enough to take, because there's a join in here, so it's not consistent all the way through, so I just smooth that out. It'll be a tiny amount. So this is one that I just done on the CAD and just had CNC'd to the exact profile of the original factory shape for the Jaguar bonnet. So that's going to be nice. That's going to be nice. I will show you the CNC machine another day. That's in another place. Yeah. That's nice.
What program do you use?
Windows 95. A little bit of cold lead. We use the u-pol easy one. Good shit. Does everything you want. Yeah, sands down nice. Does everything really. Let her have it like that.
Does that some of the flux?
Yeah, that's just the flux, just to help it stick. This is just a beginner's mix, really. Normally I like to fill the whole board. Really let her have it. You're just mixing it in, make sure you can't see any red streaks left in it from the hardener. And then you're just looking to get a nice even spread over the whole thing. And it looks a bit drastic, but what you'll find if you skim the whole thing, when you flat it down, it will flat down more evenly. More evenly? Is that?
More evener.
Much more evener. And if you end up just going, oh, there's a low spot, and then just fillering that, when you try and block it down, you'll end up basically rubbing the filler that you put in back out, because it'll flat down at different rates. The metal won't lock down, if that makes any sense. Just see, it's just starting to go off there now. It's just starting to drag. So we'll leave that like that. Let it go off. I'll skim that down. You can see how thin it is in places. See where the high spots. So when you go over with the spreader, you can feel it move. So you apply pressure where you want it so you can get it flat. So we'll skim most of that, block most of that out. I'll give it a little skim on the bulge. And then I'll do these little bits around the front where the joints are, just to level those up. And yeah, it's not a bad skim really. Quite nice. So I'm just gonna put a bit of aerosol satin black over the skim that we put in. So this is like the guide coat that we use. It's just a cheap, easy way of doing it. You'll see the car in various stages through the primer of all different types of guide coat. This is just going to give us an idea or a guide then of high spots, low spots, production marks. But you can't just block all the guide coat off because, like I say, it is just a guide. You still need to feed it with your hand because you blast all the guide coat off and it still be as ripply as a dog's dick. I don't know how ripply that is. Quite ripply, I'd imagine. Is that ripply?
Yeah, it's got to be quite
pretty ripply. So yeah, I'm going to use the block. I'll use the long block as well, but I'll also use this piece of tube that we have for years. It will go in around that, the bulge, the hump, and it'll give us a nice even curve on that. So I'll put the time lapse on and give it a quick block down. That's probably all the filler work we're going to film because I don't want to send you all to sleep. It's pretty boring, but we're going to be looking at about 80 to 100 hours of filler work and shaping and leveling before we go into polyester. So bear with us, try and stay awake. Hello, are you still with us? Have you managed to stay awake through the filler stage? As you can see from the skim we put in the bonnet, how much we block back. So you can see all the metal starting to come through there and the bits of epoxy primer coming through. So basically you skim the whole thing up and then take right the way back till you're happy with the level. So you can sort of see the exaggeration I was doing where I said it was wavy there. And what that was like. So we've gone all the way around the car now. So the next job is to take the panels off and then we can finish all the door shuts and the edges of the panels and get them all sharpened up. And then it will be going in the booth for the polyester primer, but we're going to obviously get the shell all blown off and degreased and cleaned up first. So that is the next stage. That's been about 80 hours of filler work, cold lead work, blocking it down. So that's all over 40 grit or 80 grit on that at the moment. So that'll be fine to put the polyester on, and we'll go from there. It's exciting stuff, isn't it? Alrighty then. Look proper, don't I?
Yeah, like you've just been doing something.
Well, it's quite self-explanatory, really. The filler work is done. We've taken all the panels off, so we could sharpen up all of the edges around the doors, and we've just polymasked it, 'cause it's a quick way of masking. I'm gonna just take these last few bits out, the trestle and the steps and the things, and rearrange the panels, and then we'll get the polyester on. We'll end up for like 6 coats. Probably on this shell it's gonna be 7 litres, I reckon, I guess. We'll see how close I was at the end. So this is the polyester we're going to use. It's good stuff, highly recommend it, to be fair, if you're restoring a car. It's the Max Mayer spray filler. So we mix that, it has an additive in it, has one of these. There's the hardener, and then we thin it down so it will go through the DeVilbiss guns. So we've got the pair of DeVilbiss guns here, which we'll use. I think they're 1.8. You can go even higher than that if you want, depending on what you're doing. Give it a good flash off between coats, like 20 minutes, and then bake it. Rubs down nice, fills in all the production marks.
Thanks, Charles.
So what I'm gonna say, yeah, we'll mix that up and get the GoPro in the booth and do a time lapse of putting the polyester on. All right then, Adi and I are ready to polyester. Aid's over there. Yeah, we're ready to polyester. There's not a lot more to say about it. We'll put it on time lapse. That's what I'm gonna do. I don't know. No, I've not got anything else to say.
Nothing to add.
What, is it raining?
Yeah, it's raining outside. Why is it always rain on me? Oh, we're ready. That's the E-type all in its polyester. I don't know if you can pick it up on the camera. You can like see the production marks and everything, but that one all flat out. But what I'm doing at the minute is I'm just going to go around with the polyester before we bake it, and any pinholes I'll just dab in with some polyester. That's what we normally do. Like you see there's some here, so I'll just put a blob in those. How's that? Can you see that? And then when we bake it, that will pull back in and be handsome. So like I say, there's 6 coats on this, which ended up being 7 litres of polyester. So we've got enough to work with. Did it take quite a while to dab all those things in?
Yeah.
There's a few, weren't there?
Yeah.
So we've just got the shell into the guide coat, just puffed it over. It's just some leftover base coats, and this really nice diarrhea colour. So yeah, we'll panel it all up now and start blocking it down. That's what we're going to do. Okay, that's the E-type all panelled up now out the booth. We've got them all lined back up how we want them. So we're just going to start blocking this all down now. With some 80 or 120, we'll go through that. Probably 120 to start with. Yeah, hopefully it will shape up and not show too many stinky bits. If it does show any stinky sort of high bits, low bits, bits we're not happy with, like a weird shape anywhere, we'll just give it a bit more poly on there and address that when we find the problem. So that's what we're going to do now. So Adi's cracking on quite well with the E-type. Hello! He's sort of done the main of it. He's just got the horrible stinky bits to do, like the louvers and around the front end. It's flattened down quite nice. There's a couple little stinky bits. There's a bit on that valance there. And then also on the top of this wing, feels a little bit funky through here. So we're gonna give that a skim and then we'll re-polyester those 2 bits and give them a flat down. But other than that, it's looking quite good. It's feeling quite good. Say, got the stinky bits in there to do and in there to do. So yeah, we'll address those 2 little bits, get it back in the booth for some poly, and then hopefully that'll be ready for some final prime.
More rubbing down.
Bit more rubbing down. Okay, little update on the E-Type when you've last seen it. AD has been in, we've missed it. He was doing it and I forgot to film it. So he re-polyestered this lower valance where it'd gone through and shaped that up a bit better, and then also went over this back wing again just to take it, just had an ever so slight sort of flat spot as you went through there. So we've got rid of that. So the next job is to clean the shell all up and mask it up ready for its final prime, which will be the MIPA that we're going to use again. Also, Aid's gone over the fiberglass hard top for it and leveled all of that up, as you can see. So we'll get that into some polyester at some point as well. So that's what we're doing. Now he's just going around, just finishing off. He's going to rub down through this edge, bonnet shut edge, and prep that. And then hopefully in the next sort of week or so, we'll have a decision on what colour it's going. And we'll be able to get the inside all prepped and into colour. Alright, we've got the E-Type all masked up now, and Aid's just mixed up the MIPA primer 4:1. There's Aid, ready to go in the booth. There's the E-Type all cleaned. We've just masked the louvers out because it takes so long to rub down. We'd already done them in polyester, so they don't really need to have another prime on them. So yeah, that's the shell all masked, ready for the primer. Excited, mate?
Yeah. But what colour's it gonna go?
Just a slightly different shade of grey. All right, I'll probably put the time lapse on and watch AD go around it. So before I get the E-Type out of the booth, I'm just going to spray a coat of guide coat over it. Just put a light coat over it, over the whole thing, and this will obviously help us when we block it all down to see if there's any issues with it or anything we need to change. And that's what I'm going to do now. So I'll quickly put that on a time lapse and chuck on some guide coat. Okay, that's the guide coat now on. I'll take this down so we can have a look. I'm not sure if I've mentioned it before, but basically this guide coat that we use is just all the leftover solvent base coat. We just put it all into a pot and then spray it on in this sort of stage. It's easier to do it whilst it's all in the booth and panelled up like that. Other than this, we may end up using, you may see us use, we use a bit of like satin black aerosol or even the powder, 3M powder guide coat. Might have mentioned that in a couple other videos, so hopefully we'll show you that at a later date. So what I'm gonna do now is get this outside, and I'm just gonna leave it, because it's nice weather at the minute. I'm gonna leave it outside and let it really cure off nice and hard before we start wet flattening it all down. Well, we'll dry sand it first, sorry. So we'll dry sand this all down, and then we're gonna concentrate, before we wet flat it, we're gonna concentrate on the inside and the underside and all the framework and everything. We'll get that all prepped, sealed up and into colour. So that's that stage. Hopefully we won't find too many issues. I've seen a little bit up just by that vent where it meets the body. I think there's gonna be a slight ripple there, so that might end up needing a little bit more primer, but we can do that at any stage. You see, it's never too late to sort something out. If we find anything, we'll get that sorted and make sure it's all ready for colour. All right, that's the E-Type outside, being modelled by Aid. I don't know why I'm showing you it outside, but
It's a nice sunny day.
But it's outside, bake it off. Ricky Bobby's over there doing normal work. So you can sort of start to see what it's going to look like. It's looking nice, looking nice. So what we're about to do now is get it back in the workshop. It's had a couple days out here in the sun. See, brought it in at night. Yeah, we're going to block it all down now. Okay, I can't remember how far we got with the filming, but basically the E-Type's all blocked down now with 240, and Ace is cleaning the inside, and the next stage will be to strip all those panels off, and he's just cleaning up the inside, so we'll start prepping all the interior and then seam seal all the joints. And then the next time that the panels go back onto the shell, now we've done all the shaping and the blocking down, will be when it's in its final colour. So these panels now will basically get a 600 and a 1200 wet flat whilst they're off. So it won't change how they fit to the other panels. It'd be basically just getting rid of the production lines that have been made from the 240 and getting a nice sort of finish ready for the base coat. So that's what we're going to be doing. Once we got it stripped down, we'll show you what the next stage is. Okay, we're on the next stage now of the inside of the E-Type. We've prepped it all up, rubbed it down, scotched it up, sanded any bits that needed sanding down, and it's all keyed, ready for the colour. But first, we've got the tedious job of sealing up all of the joints, which we do it in our own sort of way. So basically, we go around with the sealer gun there on all of these joints, in between the welds, everywhere we need to do it, but then we clean it all back with degreaser, so we've got the least amount of sealer on the joint, so it's just enough to cover up the two sort of seams. So when you paint it, instead of the paint pulling away from both seams, it will just be a smooth bit, but it won't have, like you see on a modern car, with a big slug of sealer all the way along between the panels. It'll be real clean and just look like a nice sort of clean finish over the whole thing. So we've got to go around the whole lot, bulkhead, inside, in the boot, and then we'll have to do the whole underside as well, and we'll seal up all of those joints just around everything, like on the floor pans, anywhere where it can the water could creep under and start it rusting out, and it will just make it a nicer finish once it's all painted, just like a nice even coat. So this will probably take Adi and I most of the day to get round all of the seams. Quite a boring job, but it's one that needs to be done, and will make the car last a lot longer in the long run. That's pretty much everything I've said there, isn't it, Adi?
Yeah.
Can't really say a lot more about that.
I mean, it is a fighting battle with a Jag, isn't it, to keep it to last long.
You can just see on this side where it's sealed and cleaned that back on that joint, and then we'll do the same in between the welds here, and that'll just make that lush.
I do like Jags.
He does like Jags. He just doesn't like how much they rust out.
No,
Then he'll degrease that back, so it's just a nice smooth joint. A smooth joint.
Smooth joint. That could excite a kid.